见，看遥远世界里那个真实的人。
大家好，我是付玉，我现在是在国际投资大师沃伦·巴菲特所执掌的伯克希尔哈撒韦公司的总部大楼。巴菲特先生已经87岁了，可是他是一个一生都在孜孜不倦地学习，不断地扩大自己能力圈的人。我们注意到，在最近几年，巴菲特依然在微调他的投资方式以及他的投资领域。那在接下来的这段时间里呢，我将走进他的办公室，对他进行独家专访。
Look great. So there was a share. How can you keep always so energetic?
Well, I mean, look at Charlie. He's 93. You know,
Yeah.
No, I'm enjoying what I'm doing, so I have no problem.
Hi, Warren. It's a great honor to talk to you again. First of all, would you please say hello to the audience of China?
Hello, China. I'm glad to be with you.
Thank you.
我们的话题从美国退出巴黎协定开始。巴黎协定是全球应对气候变暖、削减温室气体排放的重要机制。它要求各国建立约束机制，减少能源消耗。然而，美国在今年6月份宣布退出，这个消极的举动招致世界多国的抨击。巴菲特对此也表达了鲜明的态度。The U.S. is backing out of the Paris Agreement. You've stated that it would be a mistake. Why do you think so?
Well, no, I would favor of it. I was in favor of the Paris Agreement when President Obama executed it, and I think that the United States should remain in the agreement. After all, the United States created a large percentage of the carbon dioxide that's in the atmosphere, and I think that this country, as well as other countries, has a responsibility to the future to take steps to at least halt the increase in the pollutants of the atmosphere, and the United States should be a leader.
2007年10月，沃伦·巴菲特来到中国，那是我第一次专访巴菲特先生，也是他首次在中国的电视屏幕亮相。跟人们想象中叱咤风云的股神不同，他举止低调谦和。这位投资大师也是将自己财产悉数捐赠的世界首富，而他每年5月份召开的股东大会，更是吸引着来自全球的4万名参会者，齐聚巴菲特的故乡美国内布拉斯加州的奥马哈，场面如同朝圣。巴菲特的一举一动都时刻吸引着市场的目光，他的每一个投资行为都会引发人们的热议。Last month, Berkshire Hathaway announced to invest into Storage Capital and later HCG. It appears you are more focusing on real estate than before. Why the change of heart?
Yeah, that's really not the case. So these things come about by accident sometimes. One of those investments is the responsibility of one of the two younger men that work in the office. Now, each of them manage about $11 billion. They can do anything they want with that $11 billion. They don't ask me. They could put it all in one stock. They won't, but they have the authority to do that. The home capital was the decision in the end was made by me, but I was assisted by one of those in actually taking part in it. But that reflects no change in our view about real estate. We've always liked real estate fine if it's well located and priced right, and so it's not the start of any trend.
Some people believe that investing in real estate is more safer than holding on to cash. You can see it happening in China. What's your opinion about that?
Real estate is very location specific, so it makes an enormous difference. If you were fortunate enough to pick real estate in the middle of an area that's going to become much more densely populated in the next 10, 20, 30 years, then the real estate's going to be more valuable. On the other hand, if you happen to get it in a declining city, its value can actually go down quite substantially. But I've got more expertise in valuing businesses than I do in valuing real estate.
巴菲特先生已经87岁了，他的投资风格以稳健保守著称，多年来主要锁定在传统行业进行投资，比如金融保险、消费品以及制造业。巴菲特先生坚持不懂的企业不去碰，他很少涉足新兴的科技互联网产业，却在2016年花了67.5亿美元投资苹果公司，成为苹果的第4大股东。他的老搭档查理芒格知道巴菲特大手笔入股苹果之后说，巴菲特不是疯了，就是他正在继续的学习。
You said you invested Apple because it's really a consumer product company, not a technology company. And yet, Apple is strong technologically and heavily entrenched into the internet.
Well, it's high tech, but it basically is not high tech for large companies doing things or that sort of thing. I mean, it sells to consumers who are buying it the way they buy a television set or something of the sort. They look around for what's going to bring them the greatest enjoyment for the money they lay out. And so if you look at the people buying television sets in our home furnishing store, they're the same people buying smartphones. And people behave in a manner that's similar in terms of buying consumer products. So, and it's at least so far, it's been a very sticky product. If you get used to using one, you probably stay with it. The consumer very often is looking for the same product that their neighbor uses. I mean, if you go to a school, if most of the kids use a given smartphone, the rest of them want to use it. I mean, there's a contagion factor, a popularity factor that gets into consumer goods. But that can change. Occasionally, AOL was very popular, if you go back 20 years, and all the kids were using it, and their parents too, and then it fell out of favor to some degree. And of course, the BlackBerry was popular.
And you also dealt with IBM 6 years ago. It does turn about an indication that you had already started broadening your circle of competence, delving more into tech field.
Maybe a little bit, but but IBM is it basically sells to businesses or governments. Obviously, you want it to work out well. It's fun learning. I enjoy learning. My partner Charlie Munger enjoys learning, and he's 93 years old. So you never want to stop learning. The world is a very interesting place, and it's through investing you almost have to take an interest in how the world operates and how people behave and that sort of thing. So now I hope to be a little smarter when I see you next year than I am now. Now I'll probably forget some other things too at my age, but you never want to stop trying to learn.
巴菲特的业务在最近20多年有了根本性的转型，从二级市场的交易为主，转型为一级市场的实业经营为主。而且近年来，巴菲特并购重资产的比例逐年加大。2010年，巴菲特斥资260亿美元购买了全部伯林顿铁路公司的股票。2015年，他破纪录的花费300亿美元并购了生产飞机发动机叶片的精密公司。而在2016年，巴菲特旗下的伯克希尔哈撒韦公司开始大举买入航空公司股票。而过去，巴菲特在航空股上可是栽过大跟斗，有人认为这是巴菲特投资历史上最大的转变。
Now Berkshire Hathaway holds on to 4 airline stocks today. I noticed that in your history you seldom hold more than 2 or 3 companies in the same sector. Your investing style seems different from before. What made you change your mind about the sector?
Yeah, well, we've owned a number of banks, for instance. So we have had in the banking industry, for example, quite a few separate investments. I don't really think of it that way in most cases. I just look at the specific company. But there are areas where we've had multiple investments. The But in the airline industry, we only really made one investment before this recent one, and that was about 25 years ago. And we made an investment in a company that went bankrupt twice later on, but we got lucky, and I mean really lucky, because the company was not doing well, but the stock market got very excited about it for a short period of time in the 1990s, and we sold our holding, and we actually made a good profit on it, but it was just purely luck. It was I made a bad mistake in buying it, and after paying, we'll call it 100 cents on the dollar, I tried to get out at 50 cents on the dollar, and I couldn't do it, and then it worked out. But there's been, the industry used to be suicidal. I mean, all of the big carriers virtually in the United States, with maybe one exception, went bankrupt. And if you go to a search engine and look up bankruptcy in airlines in the United States, I think you'll see close to 100 bankruptcies. So it has been a very tough industry. So we hope that it's going to be very competitive. We just hope it isn't suicidally competitive like it was 15, 20, 25 years ago.
美国的6大航空公司在2016年实现了连续第5年盈利，经调整后的利润总额为140亿美元。在此之前的10年中，航空业亏损累计超过500亿美元。经过了多年大规模竞争整合，这些航空公司开始体现了长久的竞争优势，从而重新进入巴菲特的视野，成为投资标的。那么，在巴菲特的眼里，中国的上市公司有没有这样也吸引他的目光的呢？
There are some stellar Chinese stocks listed in the US that keep going up high, such as Alibaba, Tencent, JD.com, seen on Weibo. More and more people are interested in these companies. Obtaining the margin of safety of value investing, how do you think people should approach these companies?
Well, it's very hard to do. I met Jack Ma 7 or 8 years ago, and then I had dinner with him a couple years ago. He's a terrific business person, and I can recognize that, but I didn't know that much about his business to make a judgment on buying. Of course, I wasn't able to buy it for quite a while until it went public. But there's no question that, I mean, he's done something extraordinary with Alibaba. But I don't own any because I don't really know that much about the competitive situation 5 or 10 years from now. I made the same mistake with Jeff Bezos at Amazon. Those two fellows, you know, Jeff Bezos and Jack Ma, I mean, they are remarkable people, and they built extraordinary businesses. And I've watched them do it, and I haven't made any money with them, but I do admire what they've done.
对于中国的资本市场，巴菲特先生告诉我，他并不了解。然而，他可以给中国的中小投资者一个中肯的建议。
I think the best thing to do, I mean, you've got a wonderful economy, but it's a miracle what's happened in the last 50 years in China. And most people are not going to be able to pick stocks themselves. I mean, they don't know how to deliver babies themselves. They don't know how to put fillings in teeth. I mean, most people go to somebody else for most activities. They can't be an expert in everything. And my best guess is that if they just put a modest amount of money, a certain amount of money, in some broad array of Chinese companies, and just keep doing it for 20 years or 30 years, they'll do very nicely. And they'll probably do a lot better than if they try to pick winners or pick certain times to buy stocks and other times to sell stocks. That's no different in the United States than in China. Most investors in the United States, and I believe it will be true in China, will do better if they just buy part of the whole economy, the whole Chinese economy, and own maybe 20 different stocks. Or maybe, I don't know whether they have good index funds over there, but if they have a very low cost index fund that represents the Chinese economy, and they just keep putting a portion of their savings every month into that, and just keep doing that year after year. Don't try and pick the tops and sell and pick the lows and buy, because it's too hard to do. Just keep buying. They will end up with a very nice amount of wealth 20 or 30 or 40 years from now.
巴菲特先生说，就在不久前，他接待了一群从中国来请教他的学生，他们的英文交流能力和素质令他赞叹。巴菲特先生告诉我，如果他没有选择投资作为自己的事业，那很可能他会选择做一名记者或者老师。我也请教了他对于未来的教育模式和投资机会的思考。
Last month, I gave a lecture at Goju Business. The topic is What You Learn from Warren Buffett. Over 5,000 entrepreneurs watched my lecture simultaneously. They were all in 50 different cities with a video screen. This video has also generated over 180,000 views on the web to date. What do you think is kind of scalable, web-intensive education model?
Well, I think we're just beginning to see what can be done through the internet on education. I mean, if you think about it, we have kind of an old system of education. We have great universities. China has great universities, and so that they're embedded, and there's a lot of tradition to it, and institutions are slow to change. But if you think of the potential of great teachers on the internet talking to maybe millions of students, in effect, instead of being limited to a classroom of 30 or 40 people. Education, I think, will be far different in 30 or 40 or 50 years because you really have an unlimited classroom. I mean, classrooms now are limited by geography and size and all of that sort of thing. My friend Jack Welch, that ran General Electric for so many years, for example, I did something with him maybe a month ago where he has he's teaching MBA students online, and that's just getting started, but that's going to be very big over time. And I mean, the idea of being able, if I was 21 or 22 years old and I had a chance to be in the same classroom with Jack Welch, I would consider that just a tremendous opportunity. And they haven't figured out all the best ways yet to use that medium, but over time, it's bound to go in that direction.
The world is transforming at a rapid pace. About 5 years ago, we could not have imagined we would be able to do video chat or make payments just by a phone anywhere.
When I was your age, I had no idea the world would develop the way it has. I mean, it's unbelievable the things that can be done. Just using the computer, it's amazing. Take my annual report. If I'm writing that 15 years ago and I need some fact, I have to go to the library and look it up, or I have to mail away to a government agency and find out something. Now I can find it out in way less than a minute. I can find a quotation that I'm looking for. I can find anything. So it's made my life way easier. It doesn't show up in GDP or the statistical measures, but I'm living a lot better than I was 15 years ago because of a little machine that may cost $1,000 or something like that. And I did not see it coming.
So have you ever imagined what the world would look like in 5 or 10 years later?
No, I'm not good at that. And there are other people that are way better at seeing the future of these new developments than I am. So we have not made a lot of money out of predicting that sort of thing. We've bought a sort of ordinary businesses that we felt had a decent future, but the companies that are going to have a brilliant future, we have not been good at picking those out.
尽管这是一位在投资领域取得最高成就的大家，但是巴菲特先生的言谈举止时常令我感受到他根植于内心的谦卑。这跟他的家族信仰不无关系。巴菲特的家族是法国胡格诺教徒的后裔，在胡格诺教派看来，一个家庭令人尊敬的地方是能够服务于社会。他们遵循的行为规范是生活节约、低调节制。胡格诺教派崇尚把上帝赋予人类的自然生命塑造成具有高贵品格和坚强意志的精神生命，这一切成为了巴菲特最基本的价值观。这也就不奇怪， 为什么他一方面创造投资神话，另一方面把他的财富悉数捐出？一方面他坦诚自己在投资上的失误，而另一方面却不容忍公司或者合作伙伴有品行问题。1991年，巴菲特投资的所罗门公司违规操作中期国债，东窗事发后引发了美国资本市场巨大动荡，董事长辞职。而如果这家国际性大公司提交破产申请，当时的全球金融市场将会陷入多米诺骨牌效应和恐慌。关键时刻，巴菲特临危受命，接任董事长职务，辞退了35名公司高管。闯祸者莫则锒铛入狱，终身不能从事金融业。巴菲特在国会作证保证所罗门公司会改正错误，而最大的整顿则是对这个充满谎言的公司进行诚信教育。而此后每一年，在巴菲特股东大会上，他都会让每一个参会者再次重温那段历史。
Before every shares meeting, you show a movie. In that movie, there's always one clip that Solomon Brothers in the 90s, in which you testified to Congress. Why is this video clip in the shares meeting movie every year?
Well, it's a message. I mean, we have a number of shareholders there, maybe watching at 30 or 40,000, and now we do this. Well, we don't stream the movie, though, actually that part of it. But the number one reason I put that in every year is it's a message for our shareholders, but much more it's a message for our managers, because our managers are in that audience, and I want them to see how a great institution could be destroyed by just a few people not behaving well, and how important it is that every one of those managers behaves well, because they've got the responsibility of really defining Berkshire's character and integrity to hundreds of thousands or millions of people. So that message, while it's interesting to the shareholders, is really vital to the managers, in my view. And I just keep repeating it every year just so they don't forget it.
Impressive very much. Many companies struggle with employee turnover, while your colleagues have been with you over 20 or 30 years. What's the secret?
Well, part of it is we don't insist that people retire at 65. We have with our manager. Now, they may have different policies within their companies that they run, but I have dozens of managers running different kinds of businesses, and their abilities don't end at the age of 65. I think it would be a great waste. It's a long, long time. But whoever succeeds me should probably be of an age where they could run the company for 20 or 25 or maybe 30 years, because I think they will do a far better job than if they turn over every 5 years. The average turnover at
在巴菲特的世界里，时间展现了神奇的力量。他有着最长时间的同事一起工作超过40年，他有着合作时间超过半个世纪的工作搭档，93岁的查理·芒格。当然，他有最长时间的稳定投资回报。经过了51年的投资积累，伯克希尔哈撒韦的投资回报相当于最初的大约8600倍。而巴菲特也许也是这个世界上任职时间最长的 CEO， 即便已经87岁了，他依然一如既往地将他的每一天都忠诚地交付给自己的工作岗位和职责。
You always work on improving yourself. Of course, you have already achieved so much in your career. Do you ever imagine how your career will look differently 5 years from now?
We'll find out. I love running it. I mean, to me, it's. I would rather have good things happen to Berkshire than happen to me personally. If I had a chance to make some money for Berkshire, make it for myself, I'd rather make it for Berkshire. I don't need it, and I would rather have maybe we have 1 million shareholders, we don't know exactly, but I would rather have them sharing it. Berkshire, you spend your life working at something, obviously you want it to work out well.